The diplomatic hall of the Sanguix mothership gleamed with an unsettling crimson light, casting long shadows across the obsidian floors. Roman wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform as he followed Ambassador Autumn through the winding corridors. This was humanity's first official contact with the Sanguix species that had conquered 14 star systems and whose reputation preceded them like a dark omen. "Stay close and don't touch anything," Autumn whispered, her auburn hair tied back in a professional bun. At 28, she was the youngest ambassador Earth had ever appointed, chosen specifically for her expertise in xenobiology and her unnervingly calm demeanor. Roman, her security detail and childhood friend, nodded. At 30, he'd seen combat on the Mars Rebellion and the Europa mining conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for this. The Sanguix weren't just conquerors, they were vampiric in nature, sustaining themselves on the bioelectric energy of other sentient beings. The delegation ahead consisted of 3 Sanguix officials. Their pale, almost translucent skin stretched over elegant frames that stood nearly 7 feet tall. Their eyes glowed with a soft purple luminescence, and their movements were predatory, graceful. The lead diplomat, Zixathara, had made it clear that humanity's petition for peaceful coexistence would be considered, though her tone suggested she considered humans little more than cattle. As they entered the grand negotiation chamber, Roman's attention was momentarily caught by the massive viewport showing the star field beyond. Earth was visible in the distance, a blue marble that suddenly seemed incredibly fragile. That's when it happened. The delegation stopped abruptly. Roman, still distracted by the sight of home, didn't notice. He collided directly into the rear of Zixathara, the 7-foot vampire woman who could apparently dissolve his molecular structure with a thought. Time seemed to freeze. Zixathara turned slowly, her glowing eyes fixing on Roman with an intensity that made his blood run cold. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. The other Sanguix delegates hissed, a sound that resonated in frequencies that made Roman's teeth ache. "You touched me," Zixathara said, her voice like ice cracking over deep water. "A human touched me." Autumn stepped forward immediately, hands raised in a placating gesture. "High Diplomat Zixathara, please accept our silence." The word wasn't shouted, but it carried absolute authority. Zixathara's gaze never left Roman. "Your soldier will answer for this transgression himself." Roman swallowed hard but stood his ground. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he'd been trained better than that. "It was an accident, ma'am." "I apologize." Zixathara glided closer, moving with that unnatural grace. She circled Roman like a predator examining prey. "An accident," she repeated, almost amused. "Do you know what happens to species who accidentally disrespect the Sanguix?" "I can imagine," Roman said, keeping his voice steady. "Can you?" She leaned in close, and Roman could smell something like ozone and old copper. "Your species has been observed for 3 of your years. We know everything about you. Your fragile bodies, your short lifespans, your tendency towards self-destructs." She paused. "And yet, here you stand, not begging, not cowering." "Would it help if I did?" Roman asked. A strange sound escaped Zixathara. It might have been a laugh. "You're very brave, but you'll die a human. That is the law." Physical contact with a high diplomat without permission carries only 1 sentence. Autumn's face had gone pale. "Please, there must be another way." He is nothing," Zixathara interrupted. "As all humans are nothing. You come to us seeking peace, but you can't even control your own delegation. Why should the Sanguix Empire negotiate with a species so clumsy?" Roman felt anger flare in his chest, burning away the fear. He'd faced down rebel colonists armed with mining explosives. He'd dragged wounded soldiers through irradiated tunnels on Europa. He wasn't about to let this vampire aristocrat reduce humanity to nothing. "You want to know why?" Roman said, his voice gaining strength. "Because we're still here. You've studied us for 3 years? Then you know our history. We've faced ice ages, plagues, world wars, environmental collapse. We've been knocked down so many times that getting back up is practically our species' defining trait." Zixathara's eyes narrowed, but she didn't interrupt. "You call us fragile?" "Yeah, we are. We live maybe 80 years if we're lucky. Our bodies break easily. We need air, water, food, warmth, all these things that probably seem pathetic to you. Roman took a breath. But that fragility, it made us creative. It made us work together. It made us stubborn. Every generation of humans has faced something that should have wiped us out. And every generation found a way to survive. He gestured toward the viewport, toward Earth. That planet has tried to kill us 1,000 different ways. It's frozen us, starved us, drowned us, burned us. And we're still there. Not just surviving, thriving. 5 billion of us, with art and music and science and dreams of reaching the stars. A pretty speech, Zixathara said coldly. It changes nothing, doesn't it? Autumn interjected, finding her voice again. You said you've studied us. Then you know that humans don't give up, ever. You can kill Roman. You can refuse to negotiate. You can even attack Earth. Her green eyes blazed with conviction. But you'll never make us stop trying. That's what makes us human. We're too stupid to know when we're beaten, and too stubborn to care. The chamber fell silent. The other Sanguix delegates watched their leader carefully. Finally, Zixathara spoke, her tone contemplative. Your species survives on defiance, she said slowly. And foolish hope. Yes, Roman said simply. We do. Another long pause. Then, impossibly, Zixathara's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Perhaps that is why you interest us. The Sanguix have conquered 14 systems, absorbed countless species. All of them begged. All of them negotiated their surrender. She turned to her fellow delegates. Not one of them bumped into me and then lectured me about resilience. She looked back at Roman. You will not die today, human. Consider it a reward for entertainment. Your species is foolish, weak, and astronomically fragile. But perhaps there is value in such stubborn foolishness. Autumn let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. The negotiations will continue, Zixathara announced. And perhaps the Sanguix Empire can learn something from a species too stubborn to die. Even if they should, as they left the chamber 2 hours later. With a preliminary peace treaty in hand, Roman finally allowed himself to tremble. Autumn grabbed his arm. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen, she said. Roman managed a weak smile. With humans, isn't it usually both? Behind them, through the viewport, Earth continued its slow rotation, fragile, beautiful, and utterly unconquerable.